Five.
Hello and welcome to the Sweet 16 edition of the CBB Super Show. I am your host, Walter Waddell, aka Dfs85, and I'm joined as always by Pete Cole, my partner in crime and co-host. And I've got my lovely dog here in the background. Whenever the camera's on, she likes to talk. So you may hear her in the background. I apologize for that. Pete, how are you this morning? Sweet 16 time. We're finally here.
Yeah, like I said, I'm all screwed up. I keep thinking today's Friday for some reason. I don't know why, but so I'm all messed up. Yeah, I'm doing well. So we got two more big days of CBB, right? Today and tomorrow. And then just everything else pretty much like small slates, showdowns, all that. So if you're gonna get it, you gotta get it today or tomorrow, or you're gonna be missing out. So slate looks pretty good. I want to, before I forget, because I always say when we get off, I want to thank John, our producer here, who's been doing an awesome job for us every Saturday morning and never gets the credit he deserves. So John, good job, buddy. Thank you for everything this year.
Yeah. John Maffa, the mob boss. He's a good guy. He's a 49er fan, so he's got his faults, but he's a good guy, definitely. And I appreciate it this year too. He's always getting us on time, does a good job. So the behind the scenes man, he'll be around for other sports too. We're not going to let him out of here just yet. But yeah, it's round of 16, 4-game slate. So really this is going to be it contest wise where, last opportunity to change tomorrow where you're not going to have a ton of overlap. Elite 8 Monday, Tuesday is going to be 2-game slates. This is what happens in the tournament, and then a showdown, or what showdowns, they'll probably do a 2-day slate for the Final Four, which is what they've typically done in the past, and then showdowns for each, and then a showdown for the national title game on Monday. The nice thing is the last couple of years, we've had teams like Virginia, Texas Tech in these Elite 8s, and no offense to those teams or their fans, but they're not the greatest for DFS. So we do have some pretty high-powered offenses still in the tournament right now. I guess a dream Final Four for me would be probably Gonzaga, Houston, maybe Bama, and then maybe Baylor or Arkansas. Those 4 teams would give us a lot of DFS and fantasy points. So let's see if those guys can make it throughout the day here. Going to be some upsets, definitely. We're not out of the clear just yet. So we're going to break down the 4-game slate. Those of you watching live on the right side there in your live chat, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, definitely put them there. We'll answer those throughout. We're going to break down all 4 games like we typically do, game by game, talk about prize picks, maybe, any bets that we like, and then kind of a quick, overview of tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow with another stream as well, covering the Sunday 4-game slate. So let's just dive right in here. First game, Oregon State versus Loyola Chicago. Ken Palm has a 66-59, sorry. Loyola Chicago's 342. Oregon State 303. They do have Loyola Chicago winning. They're -7 right now on FanDuel. And then total wise, it's only a 125, some places 125.5. That's a full nearly 20 points less than the next set of games, and then almost 30 points less than the Oral Roberts Arkansas game. So this is not one that you're going to want to target. Unfortunately, the slate doesn't have a ton of value, or as I put in my article, rock solid value. So we're going to be probably having to dip into this game for some cheapies. This is where I would really, look to avoid guys like Ethan Thompson, my man Rory Alatiche, who I still love, and even Cameron Krutwig, who has an opportunity to do really well against this Oregon State zone and look more towards the value side. For Loyola, Keith Clemens, he's 4K. I'm going to butcher this name, Ayar Ugiak at 3.8. I think he's a little bit of a sneakier option. I was on a podcast just the other day as a guest spot, kind of had an in-depth conversation about him. Kind of, a riskier play because of his fluctuating minutes. It seems like he may be in the doghouse perhaps, but he still is hovering around that 20-minute mark. He's had games over 20 fantasy points in the past, 2 of his last 4 actually. He's top 20 in true shooting percentage, top 20 in effective field goal percentage, and his 2-point field goal is top 10. So he gets a lot of bunnies, a lot of easy looks. He does take high quality shots. Oregon State has a large front court. I expect foul trouble for Silva. They'll be rolling through, Andela, my man Alatiche, all these guys. They do run a hybrid zone, so that maybe that'll protect them a little bit from having to foul Krutwig. But the big thing is, the glass will be dominated by the Beavers if they don't have that size out there. And Ugiak, who is about 6'7", 6'8", not huge, but he is taller than the usual guys they run out there. So I could see him playing 20 to 25 minutes today. And at 3.8, that's very solid. He is also making 33% of his triples on 30 attempts. So that's pretty decent for a guy that's not taking 40. Feels like a trap, I'm sure, but 3.8, we've had a lot of success this year with guys who are typically priced over 4K. and then dip under that threshold. I jokingly say they're at the 3.8 modifier. That's a price that DK seems to rely on when guys have a bad game the time before. I think, game log chasers are going to see that he didn't do anything last game. Still played 19 to 20 minutes though. So as long as he's on the floor at 3.8, I think that we can get enough out of him to be able to pay up elsewhere. Grimes, Butler, one of the Oral Roberts guys, as many Arkansas we can handle. So he's definitely in play. Keith Clemens, like I said, at 4K, he's probably a little bit more solid because the minutes are there. And he's been a pretty big 16 to 20 fantasy point guy. So I don't mind Clemens either. You could take him over Ugiak and maybe, be a little safer. If you need that extra 200, I think you can use him. But one of those guys, IR or Keith, are definitely in play. And then I'm seeing a decent amount of projections or upper tier ownership on Lucas Williams at 5.5 and Braden Norris at 5.4. The question for me today is going to be, do I want to roll Lucas Williams in? That's my last spot because I feel pretty good at the rest of my lineup. Or do I want to go Justin Gorham, who is priced down? We'll talk about him in the Houston game, but both are 5.5. I think the determining factor is going to be that the Houston game is projected higher, pace a little bit better. The possessions in this game are going to be a little bit lower. So I'm not exactly trying to stack up Loyola or Oregon State players. If I'm hell-bent on playing Clemens or Ugiak, I'm probably not going to play Williamson or Norris, even though Williamson does have pretty good logs. He's averaging over 36 minutes per game in the tournament. He scored an outstanding 37 plus fantasy points in his first round matchup against Georgia Tech. It's a pretty steady cash play. So if you want Loyola, ownership, you don't want to go up to Krutwig, you don't want to go down to these Clemens guys. He's certainly a cash viable play. And then Norris, lethal 3-point shooter. He's a 41% shooter from long range on 126 attempts. So a myriad of options there, but at the secondary options, I think that one of those guys can be running cash. Krutwig is an excellent GPP play. And if you want to, be stubborn and run him, you can. He melted the slate last time. He's going to be under 15% owned. If Oregon State runs his own, which they should, Krutwig is the perfect prototypical high post player. He's a very excellent passer. He's going to be at the high post, directing traffic, getting assists. If his guys are hitting shots, he's going to rack them up. The Loyola guys haven't seen much zone this year, and it's because Krutwig's such a killer at the high post. They've seen it in less than 100 possessions this season, which is pretty phenomenal when you think about it. So the Oregon State zone is a lot more aggressive than anything they would have seen but right now. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. Krutwig did struggle a bit against Georgia Tech at times when they did run their version of the zone. So maybe he won't be such a killer, but on paper, he should destroy the zone. Rates wise, he's fantastic. 33% combined rebounding rate, shot rate, usage rate over 30%. He's drawing almost 5 fouls per 40. So a pretty high level GPP play, definitely. And then Mo Kalu at 3.9 for Oregon State. You could take a shot at Kalu. 2 of his last 3 games, he's over 20 fantasy points. He's played 26 minutes in that last game where he scored 22 fantasy points. He is the best 3-point shooter, percentage wise on the team, which is silly. He played a lot of minutes early on. He's very bad at defense, which is why he kind of fell off in the midseason. But now that they're in the tournament, they're making a run. They need offense. Loyola is going to make it difficult for guys like Ethan Thompson and Jared Lucas to score today. They may bring Kalu off the bench earlier than we think. And if he plays another 20 plus minutes today at the 3.9 tag, if he continues his hot shooting, he's certainly viable. It's a little more risky in cash, Maine, but it's a 4-game slate. You're looking for some difference, from the rest of the field. They could be with Mo Kalu. So definitely options in this game. I would go cheap and not pay up just because of the slow pace and low total. So Pete, what are you doing with this one?
Yeah, this is a GPP game, definitely. And especially if you're multi-entering, game stack this. What the hell? While everybody else is going, for those big implieds, game stack that 125. I mean, it can't hurt if you're making 5-6 lineups. We've seen it happen. And in Krutwig, I would love to have Krutwig in my main lineup. As I love the kid, and he is. The bright lights are shining on him again here. He's like a special. He's like a special kid. He's not going to go he's not going to go to NBA and become a big star. This is it for him. He had a masterpiece against Kofi the other day. So really impressed me. But probably the top GBP on the board. I probably am going to have one of Williamson or Norris in my starting lineup as of now. I haven't built one yet, but the problem is I realize there's $100. There's a $100 difference, so you got to almost flip a coin. But I think they both have their positives, and Williamson has been there. He was with Krutwig right in the last Final Four. He's part of that group, and now He's coming back to another possible Final Four. So, and experience goes a long ways. Wow. Wealth of experience, knowledge. But then on the other hand, so I think Williamson's a cash play. But then you got Braden Norris at 5'4", and this kid's really impressed me lately also. Hold on, I set his numbers up. Where they go? So I may end up, over the last, in the two NCAA tournament games, is Illinois and Georgia Tech. He's averaging 12.5 points, 6 assists, 3.5 rebounds, and 1.5 steals. Pretty good peripherals there. They're all above the season average, but this is a different season. So I don't know, man. I think he's exactly, he's just like Williamson. You're gonna get what you're gonna get out of him. They're both gonna get you probably like 22 DK points. I don't know. I may end up bleeding like Braden. I'm not playing both of them. I may end up bleeding Braden Norris because probably Williamson, because of the name, will catch the ownership. But don't sleep on Crutwig, because Crutwig, I think, is just that good of a player where he could smoke today. The other guy you mentioned, oh my God, was Roman Silva. I don't know. It's what, Tennessee, Oklahoma State, the first weekend, he has 16 rebounds, 7 blocks, and 23 points. How come he didn't do that all Pac-12? I know it's
he's drinking Mike's special stuff, man. I don't know. I don't know if I believe this continues, but yeah, he's playing well, definitely.
That's what I mean. If you just look at logs, like, wow, I'm gonna take this guy for $5,000. You know what I mean? But then you look at his logs during the season, and that was like pretty much all the guys in Oregon State. And now all of a sudden they've woken up. So if I was to take anybody, it would probably be like a Silva in a value. I don't think Ethan's is not in a good spot at all against this Illinois defense. And so I guess the only player I would take on Oregon State would be Alatiche, because he's not going to be guarded by Crutwig, right? I don't think Crutwig will be guarding him. So he would be the only player I would actually look at 6'7". So in GBP only. So I just said a lot of bullshit for nothing, really. So if the GBP plays, but I may play Norris over Williamson as a cash play, but they're just same.
Dig it. All right. Villanova versus Baylor. Ken Palm has it 77-73 in favor of Baylor. 157 tempo ranking. Nova 332. Villanova, man, I learned the hard way. I was hitting some parlays, 4, 5, 6 legs, and it came down to Nova. They made sure I didn't win that parlay, because you just can't bet against Jay Wright, man. Jay Wright is the bet, one of, if not arguably, the best coach in all of D1 right now, over Calipari, over Roy, definitely over Coach K. I know the masses are like, oh, but Jay Wright's doing it, man, and he's got a banged up crew. He's got no point guard, really. But I will say matchups do matter, and Villanova has gotten a relatively soft draw. I thought they would fold early on, and they didn't, so kudos to them. But they've gotten away without strong guard play just because the teams they faced haven't really been that strong. Now they're running into a buzzsaw on Baylor that has the triple-headed guard stack of doom, pretty much. They've got a myriad of ways to beat you, defensively and offensively. Butler feels like a big game for him. Davion Mitchell, Macy O'Teague. I feel like betting wise, I would be against Nova and take that Baylor money line, and I see them moving on. So I'm going to let you break down this game for us. I do a lot of talking. I want to give you a chance here, not dominate the conversation, but why don't you break this one down and tell us who you like?
This is a tough one because there's a few plays you can definitely use. So first, my decision is going to have to be Butler's actually cheaper than Mitchell, which I don't understand why. But so, of course, you're gonna play Butler, being that much cheaper than, he's like $400 cheaper. This is crazy. So I don't. But yeah, but then you look at Mitchell, where he's probably, if you look at their rates, Mitchell's probably safer rate now than Butler. he's put up 34 and 33 DK in the first two tourney games, shooting 46% from deep. And we know Villanova struggles on a perimeter. So he's not getting the projections, but I kind of, but then, I mean, then in the Sweet 16 going against, pulling Jared Butler, I think if this is a regular season, I would play Mitchell over Butler today. But I think because it's just special and it's a tournament, Butler's got to be your man. At 7-4, I think that's a insane price for Jared Butler. Is that his low point in the season? I think it is. It's actually, yeah, it's his low point in the season. So, then do you need two pieces on Baylor, or just one? So if you're going to go two pieces, you got Mitchell, or you got actually Machio Tigo too. So, and Teague, he's only 6'4", and I mean, and he's been up to almost 8K. So Teague's actually a great play also. So they're big favorites. They got the second highest implied. You want to piece this, I think, somewhere, but it's too much. I think you want Butler in your lineup just because we know what he can do, and he's a special player. So maybe Butler, Teague, and then your other play is Matthew Mayer. What's the deal with this kid? Is he the real deal? I mean, do we start playing him? I played him once this year and he got like a 4 or something. So I kind of just crossed his name up, but now obviously he's playing more, right? So I don't think I'd be playing him today, but I guess he is in play. He's putting up like 30, 40 DK points like every damn game. So I'm looking at Butler. I'd say Butler 1, Teague 2, Mitchell 3, and then Mayer for Butler. And then on the other end, Villanova, I think Justin Moore is going to be popular again. He's 6'1", he's priced to go up a little bit, but you probably can see him over 35% owned. So I think Butler is close to a cash play. I mean, more. And then Jeremiah Robinson Earl at 8.5. He's in play also, but I don't think you're going to make him in your main lineup because you got too many other players. But I think he's in a good spot. He's his price, that price has dropped though too, huh?
Yeah,
he's went from he was in 9s, now he's down to 8.5, and he's coming off a 40 and a 50 DK point game. So he's averaging 8.5 rebounds, 20 points, 3 blocks and steals in the tournament. And Baylor's front court is not the greatest. So is he gonna be chalk? Robinson at this price, Jerry?
I don't see how, but he's going to get some ownership definitely. But he should be like, if he does, it'll be under 20%. There's just too many other options around him.
Here's my question to you, because we saw the Syracuse-Houston game, and we obviously want to piece Arkansas and that high implied. How many pieces do you want out of this game?
So Jared Butler seems like a no-brainer. Definitely, his price is way too cheap.
Yep.
They reacted way to his 26 fantasy point game. Bizarrely, he should be up over 8K. So it's gonna be hard not to play Jared Butler. I do like some of the options around him better, but I almost feel forced to play Butler. And
that's there
is a way to talk yourself out of Jared Butler because he does pick up fouls because of his aggressiveness. So you could theoretically get away from him. I don't see myself playing more than one piece of this game just because I'm so laser focused on Houston, Arkansas, and Oral Roberts. And maybe that's a mistake. If everybody's doing that, then maybe you do want some ownership here. I haven't been using guys against Baylor very often. Baylor's D, even though it's gone down since they've gotten back from their COVID break, it's still an elite unit, top 50. And Villanova guys they're too high volatile outside of JRE. And sometimes Samuels, that's a volatile group in terms of fantasy points. So I'm really not going to go targeting Villanova myself. It would be Butler. I like Mayer, GPP, run Mayer. Mayer's projection is decent. If you think he's going to continue to get 20 plus minutes, he can still pay off 5.4. It just feels bad to pay that over Devontae Davis, who I really like, we're going to talk about in a second, at 5'9" for a
Mhm.
couple hundred more, or industry chalk Jalen Tate for less, who I hate, but I have to admit his price is cheap. So it's going to be tough to even get any exposure to this game outside of Butler. And even Butler at 7'4", it's not like his projection is like through the moon or anything. He's 4X kind of thing. But this could be a big game for him. Big game. Butler hasn't shown his face in a while, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a 40 plus at 60% ownership or something, which if he does that and you fade, you're probably dead. So for me, I think
Yep.
the answer is 1, but I don't mind if you get more than 1.
No,
It definitely has potential.
I agree with you. After just talking over, like I said, if this is regular season, I'd probably play Mitchell over Butler today. But it's the tournament. It's a big game. Butler, you can come through. So, yeah, and I think Moore is more of a GPP play. Especially this Baylor's backcourt. These guys can play defense. So to me, let Evie Butler's run Justin Moore and cash. But I think Justin Moore is gonna catch ownership like he does every damn slate. I'm seeing him over 35% on some projections right now. So I think Moore is probably more, especially at 6'1", more of a GPP play. So that's it. I do like Teague though too. So if you're multi-entering, you could do a game stack here. You know what I mean? If you're multi-entering, game stack each one of these games.
Yeah, definitely. And Moore's a good one to get leverage away from and fade. We've seen him struggle in tough matchups before, even easier matchups. So I could see Baylor really giving him problems and see him, turn the ball over a lot today.
He scares me. He doesn't. Moore has not impressed me at all this year. So
yeah. All right. So Oral Roberts versus Arkansas, the crown jewel of the slate, highest total, almost 160. Compared to that Oregon State game, that's almost an entire game higher. Ken Palm has it 86-72 in favor of Arkansas. They're 17 Temple ranking, Oral Roberts 48. These two teams have faced each other earlier this year. And it was close for a while. Oral Roberts actually had a 12-point lead early in the second half. And I know our resident Arkansas fan, Corey, was sweating that one out. I think he may have even been at that game. I seem to remember him, giving us commentary on it. And then Musk made a really strong move. He got sat Vanover on the bench. That was kind of the death of Vanover in that game, I think, because couldn't guard Obanner or A. Smith off the pick and roll. They went with Justin Smith at the 5. They went with a smaller lineup, and it really gave Oral difficulties. In this game, Justin Smith gave it to Oral big time. He's got to be the dude today. He had 22 and 17 against Oral. They can't rebound at all, especially on the defensive side of things. Justin Smith actually had 10 offensive rebounds in that game, so I would expect him to have a monster game. He's 7'7", Moses Moody 7'8". I know there's been some talk of they're the same price, go Moody, Moody's chalk, blah, blah, blah. I just think you take Justin Smith. Moody may outscore Smith today, and maybe he does hit like 42 where Smith hits 36. I just personally feel better about rocking Justin Smith for basically the same price with way less volatility. What it comes down to on these tournament slates, they tend not to be as high scoring as the bigger slates. Obviously, defense starts to be played more and more. The defense separates as teams get eliminated. So sometimes it's better to just take that solid floor. So if Justin Smith is going to give us anywhere from 32 to 36, like a guarantee with upside for more, where Moody's, his upside's 50, but his guarantee is, 22. It's a lot easier just to go Justin Smith and take that 10 plus floor that you're going to get. Now, maybe I'm being aggressive with my own projection there, but he's in a lot better spot than Moody. Moody's, aggressive, getting fouls. His rates across the board aren't nearly as good as Smith's in terms of rebounding other categories. So I just think it has to be Justin Smith. And that 22-17 he had in the first matchup, as soon as he went to the 5, was very eye-opening. Devontae Davis wasn't a thing yet. He didn't really play. He only played 9 minutes in that game against Oral Roberts. He's now playing over 30 minutes. He's my favorite play of the slate. I see other sites are projecting him as the highest, so it's not like he's a secret. When I was doing a little bit of breaking down the slate a couple of days ago, I had mentioned he was my favorite at 5'9", so it's really just no secret. He's a core play for us as well as other sites. You just got to roll him out there. Steadily has scored 20 plus fantasy points in 5 straight. He's played 32 plus minutes in 3 straight. He doesn't have the foul volatility of guys like Jalen Tate and Moses Moody. So I'm all in on Davis. I'm all in Smith. Those are my 2 guys. Jalen Tate is 5'2". He's cheap enough to where he's going to draw a bunch of ownership. I have been really lucky. I've only rostered him once or twice. I have gotten away from him when he is cheap and has, hurt the rest of the industry. But I think I may have to really strongly consider using him here. This is going to profile a lot like the Colgate game where Tate scored over 30. Fast pace, not a lot of defense. Tate actually was the one guarding Ace Smith back in December when they played. And it was Ace Smith's his lowest total that he's had all year. He scored just about 11 real points. Didn't shoot the ball that well, and Tate stayed out of foul trouble. So he really handcuffed Ace Smith. He will get the jot, the defendant jot on him again. Look for Ace Smith to try to get him in foul trouble, of course, and get him out of there, which very well could happen. Tate is a guy that gets into foul trouble, but he's typically the one guarding the other team's best player. So aggressively he's reaching or getting driven on, bumped, whatever, he gets fouls. He's their best defender. He will be on the court if he doesn't foul. So I don't mind the Tate play. I'm just prioritizing Davis and Smith. Tate falls into that 5K range with Williamson and Gorham, where you're going to have to decide on one, maybe two of those three. And then also Jalen Williams. I like Jalen Williams. He's probably going to split that fifth starter minutes. JD Note, him and Note. Note will probably play more today, but I do like Williams at 4-9. He's made Connor Vanover irrelevant at this point. He's far from a safe play. We saw against Colgate, he didn't really profile that well in that game. He only played 6 minutes, but then in the slower game against Texas Tech, he played 28. So I do worry about his minutes here. I think it'll be more like the Colgate game, but he does make sense as a GPP play. He's got a rebounding rate over 30%, block rate over 4%, playing a horrible defense in Oral Roberts. Oral's defense has looked a lot better and has been better statistically in the tournament thus far, but you're facing a team like Arkansas. Their offense is a lot, more elite than a team like Florida or Ohio State. As far as Oral Roberts, we've been riding, a lot of us, me especially, have been riding with O'Banner and Ace Smith all tournament. I've rolled both in both rounds. They've done me well. The problem now is they're priced up. Ace Smith is actually priced down slightly to 8.7, but O'Banner from 6.5 to 7 to 8.9 now. So almost 9K. But it's going to be hard for me not to go up and just grab him anyways. 48 and 52 his first 2 tournament games. He did pick up a foul problem in the Summit League tournament, which kept his ownership down in the first round. It's not a problem he typically has. He's not going to be in foul trouble very often, so I don't worry myself with him on that. He had 21 and 10 against Arkansas on their floor last time, so he's going to put up big numbers. Arkansas, I know statistically, Arkansas's interior defense is so strong, but if you look back at it, most of the season, they've given it up to guys who attack the glass. They've been better with Justin Smith at the 5, even though they've given up some size. So I will give them that, but they're not shutting down O'Banner. I'm confident that O'Banner is going to put up numbers. Shooting 46% from long range, so they're going to have to try to guard him out there. He can also hit the glass. He's got a combined rebounding rate over 32%, shot usage rates both over 26%. He's drawing almost 5 fouls per 40. He's an 87% free throw shooter, so if the game's close and they put him up at the line late, he's going to rack up points for us. So I do favor O'Banner over Ace Smith. I think you got to run one of them. Right now, it looks to me like 2 Arkansas, possibly 3, and 1 Oral Roberts. I would love to run Ace Smith and O'Banner. I'm just not seeing a way to do it. There's not enough sub 4K guys that I want to take a shot on. You could go Kalu and Ugiak, but you're really leaving yourself open to a couple, combined 10-point performances there, and then you're going to be really dead if Ace Smith and O'Banner don't go for 5x plus. So I wouldn't recommend it, but it is a GPP play definitely. Ace Smith is the one I'm more concerned about just because Tate did handcuff him. But again, this is a guy that, in a tournament, the top scorer in all of college basketball, how he's going to play. He's going to put up numbers. I don't see him, having a bad game against them here again. He's drawing over 5 fouls per 40. I think the game plan coming in is to take it to Tate early and often and try to get him into the quick 2 foul trouble and go sit him on the bench. If he can do that, he's going to go off. There's nobody else on Arkansas that's going to be able to slow him. Ace Smith's range is Steph Curry level parking lot, so he can take it out there. He can take you to the hoop. He's a 90% free throw shooter, which is 12th best in the country. He's a 43% shooter from long range on 206 attempts. He's really low. I think he'll be low on. I think O'Banner will be higher owned personally. I know Ace Smith is being pumped a little bit more by another site, so maybe their poll will make him level with O'Banner. I'm certainly on the O'Banner side while they're on Ace Smith, but I love both. I can't argue either. Carlos Jurgens there at 5'1". He's good. He's been good as the heart of that triple Oral stack. He scored 20 plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5. But at 5'1", you have Devo Davis up at 5'9". You have Tate for 100 more. You've got Gorham for 400 more. Williamson 400 more. It feels rather bad to take Jurgens over any of those guys in your main lineup. So I do have him listed as a quasi cash play, but he's clearly behind those other guys. And then you've got the Kareem Thompsons. He's a 41% 3-point shooter. He's 5'3". Again, kind of a rough price to pay for him. And then that was pretty much it. There's only really 4 viable options on Oral. I wouldn't be, dipping down under 4K to Sean Weaver. Weaver's had some good games against Summit opponents, but he's really struggled in the tournament thus far. And even at a 3-5 price, he's just not really worth it today. So lots to like in this game. I really do think you want to come away with 3, possibly 4 from this game. Everybody else will likely do the same, so it's not sneaky by any means, but it's just a good play. You're getting a lot of points from Smith, Davis, O'Banner, Smith. So some combination of those 4 is going to be in every one of my lineups. Who are you prioritizing in this game? I guess we'll start with that for you.
So I'm assuming everybody's leaning Moody.
That would be great if they are.
Yeah, and from what I'm seeing him getting touted a lot. I think the reason people are touting him is Oral Roberts is like 225th in the nation in 3-point defense, and Moody shoots 37%, and so I'm thinking that's got to be one of the reasons too. But you're right. For $100 difference, Justice Smith to me has just turned into like a perfect cash player, and I was on him earlier in the season, and then I got off him, especially when he was. But I think if Arkansas is playing, Smith is your cash play. I think from Moody's too volatile, and I love Justin Smith. I think he's one of the probably top plays today on the board. So Smith, he top, and I guess Tate, because as we're going through this, we only have 1 game left. I know Syracuse they do have a couple of value plays, but there's very little value on his slate tonight. So I'm assuming this is why Tate is also going to catch a bunch of ownership across the industry, because who else are you going to play? If you want to play guys like Kevin O'Banner, guys like that. So this is why I don't see Jalen Tate as a cash core play, as a cash play. I mean, Tate's all over the place. But I guess when you got to say it like this, when there's nobody's in the 4s that you can trust, I guess you can trust. Well, you just said it, and it's a high tempo game. All the stars are aligned. So at 5-2, I guess Jalen is in play, and he's probably. What about Jalen Williams though? I mean,
Yeah, he's a good price. I have concerns. I have concerns about the minutes. Like I said, against Colgate, he only played 6, so there could be a minutes discrepancy there as they play Note more. But he's definitely in play.
So yeah, but he's 4.9, so I guess $300 more. You get Tate, where you're pretty much more guaranteed.
Yep.
30 minutes. And Devontae Davis is just. I need to repeat what you said to Mrs. Schuin. So I'm thinking. I think on this slate, you want Smith is definitely Tate, coin toss on the other side. You choose between Asmus or O'Banner, and I think I'm with you. But to argue with somebody, if they said they took Max Asmus over O'Banner, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's just pretty much, do you like chocolate or vanilla? All right, so again, we're walking out here with 3 games. We're walking out here with 3 or 4 players in our main line this game.
Definitely. 100%. All right. And then last game on the slate, we've got Pete's Orange versus Houston. I've been a big fan of Houston. Their Ken Palm projection 75-67 in favor of the Cougars. 324 tempo ranking, Syracuse 150. Back on Selection Sunday when we did our show and we were talking about matchups and potential Sweet 16 and stuff. This was one that I had brought up, like, hey, if Houston gets to play that zone, because we both thought, Syracuse is an 11 seed, they're going to make a run. It's just way too obvious. They did. They always do this. Teams seem to, during the regular season, teams, at least in the ACC, they beat up on that zone, and then they get into the tournament, and then teams just go full brain dead against the zone, and they can't make a shot against it. It's really weird. I don't see this happening in Houston. A few years back when Sampson was at Oklahoma, they lost to the zone. That team was half injured. This Houston team has lost the zone before. I think they'll be ready. I think they've had a week to prepare. They're going to be ready. They have the perfect zone busting weapon. The reason why I wanted to see this matchup is because our guy Quentin Grimes is an assassin. He had a couple games earlier just like a week or two ago, in that American conference. He went into FU mode against Cincy, and he was making threes from the parking lot and banking them in, throwing them behind his back. It was like that Larry Bird, Michael Jordan commercial where they're like off the from the parking lot, off the sign, through the bus window, through the fake boobs, like all that. Like that's what Grimes is like, man, when he's clicking on all cylinders. So I love Quentin Grimes. He's only 7'9". He is not secret. Before I saw other sites' content, we were talking about the slate a couple of days ago on my guest spot, I was hoping that Grimes would go under the radar because of Butler, but everybody has figured it out. He's too cheap. A 3-point shooter against his zone. You got to have him. He's a core play for us. I'm expecting him to take 20 plus shots, with Giroux being banged up, especially. Giroux has improved his 3-point shooting. He was a horrible 3-point shooter in the past. He's banged up. He gutted that performance out against Rutgers. He was the reason, him and Grimes were the reason they were able to escape with their lives there. Just a really gutsy performance from Giroux. He deserves all the respect, but he's much more effective when he's able to drive down the lane, kick out to his shooters. He's a defensive weapon. So this just doesn't profile like a good spot to target him. And it's a shame because his price is really juicy. Sub 7K, I think he'll draw some ownership because of that price. I'm not personally on him just because I don't think he's the best option against the zone. It's clearly Grimes. Shot rate over 28%, usage rate over 25%. His steal rate's almost 3%. He's knocking down 42% of his threes, 218 attempts. He's a smash play. And then, the question is, because Syracuse gets beat so much by strong rebounders, postmen, the high post, typically we can target the opposing team's big men, and it's a lock. But the problem is with Houston, they've got Bryson Gresham, they've got Fabian White, Gorham to an extent. Reggie Chaney is in there. So they do split these minutes up. So it could be just the production is even down the line. But I think I am going to, draw a line in the sand here and go with Gorham and Fabian White. Maybe not together, but I'm leaning those two over Chaney and Gresham. First, Fabian White is just 4'7". He was priced up, most of the season. He's been hurt, a little bit of a risky play, but he looks healthy now. He's coming in playing 20 minutes. I talked about this the other day, but Fabian, even 20 minutes against the Syracuse zone that can't, stop big men could feel more like 28 to 30 minutes for Fabian and a player of his caliber. So I do think he would ham out at the high post. I think he'll own the glass. He's got a offensive rebounding rate over 11%. Syracuse can't keep guys from getting second, third, fourth opportunities. His block rate's over 7%. Like I said, I think he'll be the high post when he's on the floor. 22-ish minutes. I think 5x plus is inevitable here, as long as he plays that 20 plus minutes. And I think that does happen. So I love Fabian White here. He's not projecting all that well. He'll be lower owned, but I definitely think he is going to be the value sneak. Him and Ugiak, those two. And then Justin Gorham. He's, like I said, the decision for me is really Williamson from Loyola or Gorham, who's now 5'5". Gorham has been priced up over 7K a lot this year. He's way too cheap to ignore at the 5'5" price, but the last 3 games, he's picked up a foul issue. So the emergence of Fabian White, Chaney, Gresham, they've played some of their other guys off the bench here in some blowouts against Cleveland State. So it's really hurt Gorham's minutes. So that would be the main concern. If he gets 30-ish minutes, though, he's got 15.5% offensive rebounding rate, one of the best in the country, 36% combined rate. He can hit the corner 3. It's his favorite spot to shoot. He's 36% on 47 attempts. So he can step out and beat the zone there. It's just going to be a really tough out and someone to defend for this Orange defense if he can stay on the floor. So I don't know if it's really smart for me to run Gorham and White, but I do think both have tremendous upside at their prices against this particular matchup. And then Shamar Mark at 4'7". He's a future stud. He's not the best 3-point shooter. He's actually shooting under 30% for the season, but he's been better lately. Those are total season numbers. I think he could actually be a sneaky GPP value as well. He's drawing 4.6 fouls for 40. He's got shot rate and usage rate over 22%. So don't sleep on Mark as a potential sneak play as well. Sasser, why aren't you talking about Sasser against the zone? I broke it down in the article, but 5'8", it's a good price, but his range of outcomes are so much wider than Grimes, and I get that he's 2K cheaper. It's really not that cheap though. Really, I'd like him to be in the low 5K range to really touch him in cash games. He could torch the slate if he catches fire, but he's really been bad. Like his 3-point shots are just clanging off the backboard. They're just not even close. So I really don't feel good about using him in my main lineup. He doesn't project that well anywhere in the industry, and he's too close to like Devo Davis. You know, he's only 100 less than him, and Davis is a way better play than Sasser. And I'm not trying to pick a fight with Pete because I know Sasser's his boy, but he's just not he's not main team material right now in my eyes. And then as far as Syracuse goes, you know, I'm not using Boeheim. Gary is probably too high priced. Alan Griffin at 5'2". If you would have told me a couple weeks ago that he'd be 5'2" and we wouldn't be talking about using him in Maine, I would be like, wow, you know, even I would have to use him at 5'2", and I hate Syracuse, but he's really not playable. He's making too many mistakes. Now that they're using Jesse Edwards and Braswell off the bench more, Boeheim, you know, he had some comments after their last game that, you know, Griffin's he's hurting them when he's on the floor. He's really doesn't mince words, does he, Mr. Boeheim? But so Griffin, you know, he starts the game, he makes a mistake, the inevitable dribble off the foot, travel, bad shot, and then he hits the bench. So, you know, if you're running multiple entries, I think you'd be silly not to have a Griffin share somewhere, because 5'2", if he starts out hot and he actually is helping them, then he'll crush that price, but there's just no guarantee. And then Kadari Richmond at 3'9". There is a lot of talk on the Syracuse message boards about Richmond getting extra minutes against this Houston defense. I don't see Girard or Boeheim having much success against it. So they could use a dribble driver like Richmond, somebody who's a lot more gifted than Girard and Boeheim at getting to the rim and drawing fouls. So I do think if you're looking for a big ball play like Richmond and you think he's going to get the minutes, it could pay off huge for you, because I just don't see the other Syracuse guys doing a whole lot here. I don't personally think Syracuse is going to be in this game very long. Maybe in the first half, if Boeheim continues to shoot, you know, NBA Jam mode, fine. But if he goes cold today, I could see Syracuse getting just blown out of the building. So Richmond, I think, just sees more minutes. It's kind of a gut call there. There's a couple other people in the industry that feel the same. I don't know if I'll have my own cojones to run him in Maine, but he's definitely an interesting option at the very least. So, what are your Syracuse doing, man? Are they gonna make an Elite Eight run here or what?
Hey, with Boeheim, you never know though. I mean, I see him do it with the worst team. So,
Yeah.
You're not playing Buddy Buckets in your main lineup. What's wrong with you?
Such a good price at 8-1. I don't know how I could fade.
But I mean, we say every week though, you can't deny what the kid's done. I mean, he's talked his way into like NBA talk now. I mean, I'm seeing his name float all around the NBA. So, I mean, he single-handedly took Syracuse to the Sweet 16.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and you know, he came in. You know, everybody thought he was a coach's son. He was, you know, he's just going to be like the last kid off the bench. And he was kind of like that as a freshman, and then big jump last year, and now said this year he's just, you know, but he's a hot cold shooter. He's a GPP player, and Houston's one of the best defenses in the nation. So I would be, you know, a fool to say I'm playing Buddy, but if I'm playing more than one lineup, the way, I mean, as hot as he's been, you need to get him in the lineup somewhere, because he's been lights out. And Hussein's going to stop that. I mean, a kid like Buddy can shoot over anybody if he's on. So, but he's too risky, I think. And you know, if you're only building one lineup. So Dolzak is probably the safest. I like Girard. Actually, Girard's been playing much better, but I think you're right about the Richmond call. But with all this Griffin bullshit, Girard actually stepped in and played much better. He's playing, you know, the Girard we expect to see. But I like your Richmond call, so that keep me up Girard too. So Dolzak is probably the safest out of all these Syracuse guys. I mean, he's one of these guys. He gets peripherals. I mean, he's not going to win you GPP, but you're pretty much safe. Or you're going to, you know, get what 20, 25 DK at him. I'm saying, you know, if somebody's going to go Syracuse here. So, and so it'll be Dolzak or nobody. So I would say nobody. I agree with you. I think Grimes is the play of the day at 7-9, especially with Giroux out, right? He should be unstoppable. So Grimes should be in your main lineup. One player. Well, we're loading up, I guess, on Arkansas. How many people out of this game are you rocking in a main lineup? I like Gorham's price at 5.5. I got to look all this stuff over again, man. Like, I may end up with just Grimes in my cash lineup, and that's it from this game, which I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that's it's gonna, like I said, the decision for me is Gorham or Williamson. I'm probably running Fabian White. I like him too much in this spot. I'm taking the minutes risk, but I wouldn't mind if you just go with the one hammering Grimes. I think Houston is going to do some serious damage here. There's a conglomerate of people that think Syracuse will continue their Cinderella run, and maybe they do. Giroux banged up, maybe they're not able to pull it through, but I see Grimes having a slate breaking performance here. And of course I'm hyping him up so much. The inevitable 3 first half fouls is coming, but this matchup's too good for him. And whoever ends up, running majority of the time at high post for Houston. And maybe that risk of 4 guys running the post / high post for Houston is enough to push us away, because they're going to split, production, but they're also cheap. That price on Gorham is really hard to get away from. So that's really the decision on the slate, not only for me, but for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, I definitely like Gorham's price. And then you got him down there with a bunch of guys, like the kids from Arkansas. So I mean, when you're going to go up and compare it straight up, Tate versus Gorham, give me that one. Tate versus Gorham, your last spot in your lineup.
That's tough, man. That's another tough one. I think you can run. That's what, like, if you fade, say you run Butler, we're basically at the end now, so we can just kind of BS here. But if you run Butler, Grimes, one of the Oral Roberts guys, Justin Smith and Devo Davis, that really leaves you only, Clemens perhaps, and then 2 4K to 4-5 guys. Or you can fade one of Butler or Grimes and then play Tate, Gorham, 2 of those 3 guys. So I'm kind of leaning towards that, maybe fading, maybe getting cute and out of necessity fading, one of the Butler. I'm probably not fading Grimes, but maybe Butler and then playing 2 of those 3 guys, because Williamson, Tate, and Gorham, I think if you play 2 of those 3, your floor is better. Maybe your upside's slightly lower than a 7K plus guy and Deshang Weaver or something like that. So
yeah,
that's another decision you're gonna have to make. If it's straight up just Gorham or Tate, I probably would still go Tate, even though I'm the biggest Tate hater there is. It's just his minutes are going to be higher than Gorham.
Yeah, I think
that's
I agree.
Probably the deciding factor.
All right.
So definitely a lot of decisions here on 4Gamer. There's a lot of different ways to go.
There is.
Nice. Tomorrow's slate, the pricing is way soft, so we're going to see a lot of overlap. You can make a much easier lineup, but today is really, who has the most hair on their chest here at the end of the day, because there's going to be some tough calls you have to make, and you're going to have to fade somebody up top that projects really well, whether it be Butler, Grimes, maybe you fade Obanner, maybe you just skip out on Oral Roberts, but you'll have to decide that for yourself. Prize picks. I have a couple here. I listed quite a bit. There's a lot that I like. Quentin Grimes over 31.5 or 31.4 is what it was last night. That's my favorite. Justin Smith over 32 fantasy points. That's my second favorite. So those are the 2 locks for me. I also really like the individual stat lines on Justin Smith over 8 rebounds and Kevin Obanner over 8.5 rebounds. Both of those guys had double doubles against each other earlier in the year. Really no reason they shouldn't do it again, and both should eclipse the 30 mark. So even Obanner at 33.2 fantasy points is one that I do have featured. I don't prefer it over Smith or Grimes, but I certainly think the over is going to hit for him too. And then Max A. Smith over 3.5 assists. There is talk this morning I saw in the chat about Krutwig's assist total, which is 3. If he's going to run the high post against his own, it would make sense for him to get over 3 assists. It's a little closer than I think people think, just because if shots aren't falling and it ends up being a lower scoring game, maybe those assists don't hit. But yeah, I would be really difficult for him probably not to hit 3 assists against that zone. So I don't mind that one too. Is there any others that stick out to you?
Sasser 20.5, I think is low enough where he should hit that. It's only what it really jumped out at me.
Yeah, that's not bad for sure. He needs the shots to fall to hit, just because his peripherals aren't there, but at least they gave you the lower end there at 20.5, definitely.
Last game was 1 for 9. Come on, man.
Yeah, and even Jared Butler 30.8. So there's a lot here to like. you can run 5, 6, 7, a flex play or whatever. If you want to run a power play and you just want like my 3 favorite, it's Grimes, Smith over fantasy points, and Justin Smith over on rebounds. Those are the 3 like stone cold Steve Austin locks, if you will, that I like. All right. So tomorrow we'll be back in the morning, 4-game slate yet again. The games on that one, obviously, we're looking at, the Pac-12 battle, USC, Oregon. Gonzaga's back on the slate versus Creighton, Michigan versus Florida State, and UCLA, Alabama. So a pretty decent slate, some good games. Like I said, the pricing is pretty soft. I'll be looking forward to that USC Oregon game. I think that's the game of the day. And then, deciding on Gonzaga. So it'll be fun. We'll break that down. Make sure you guys are back. Same time tomorrow, 7 a.m. PST, 10 a.m. EST. Probably just be about an hour as we break through the games. Pete, what do you, I guess, kind of put you on the spot here. What are you most excited for today? Like game-wise, Sister Jean, any storylines? Maybe it's the transfer portal. I don't know. What today are you like going to be looking forward to the most?
See if Buddy Buckets can keep his streak going.
Yeah, that's a good one.
See how close Syracuse can stick with Houston. I don't think they're going to win, but I just know Boeheim's been around enough where I don't think they're not just going to lay down. So that's probably my main things. I'm a Syracuse guy though, but Buddy's just been so hot. It'd be nice to see him hit another 30. And then I'm interested in see how this Villanova team plays against Baylor too. I didn't realize we may be making decisions here between Butler and Grimes. I didn't realize that until we went through all these players. But that's what it looks like, huh? Looks like we may end up having to make a decision here between these 2 guys.
It's really 2. If you build right here, in my mind, here's the optimal, and I'm not always right, but I think it's either this 2 of Jalen Tate, Lucas Williamson, Justin Gorham, or right. Jared Butler and a sub 4-5 guy, I think is what the salary works out to. So you're going to have to decide on Stars and Scrubs, which has been, an enigma all season long. It hasn't worked all that well. When it works, it really works. When it doesn't, you're at the bottom of the juggle ups. And then Balanced, which maybe your upside's lowered a bit, but you're typically going to be in the mix to cash no matter what. So that is the decision. Yes. It's a Butler fade, or it's a fade, Tate and Gorham, I guess, or Williamson, who projects ownership wise higher than those 2. Well, not higher than Tate, but higher than Gorham. It's another reason I like Gorham a little bit more. But that is the decision of the slate, definitely. For me, I keep saying Williamson or Gorham, so I think it's obvious where I'm leaning, but it doesn't feel good that I'm considering fading Butler because he's a no-brainer. He's an absolute no-brainer for this slate, but I'm just thinking of the rest of my lineup, the integrity of it, my floor, my range of outcomes. And I just feel like I'm lowering my range of outcomes if I fade Butler. My upside may be more limited, but he's going to have to hit 40. And the guy that I go with, the Weavers, Clemens, those type of players, I'm going to need probably 20 from. Whereas Tate, Gorham, maybe they each get 35. Still winning with them over the Butler side. If Butler doesn't get 40 plus and that value doesn't hit 20 plus. So, it may not matter at the end of the day, but it's definitely a decision you're going to have to make. And that's why I am a fan of this slate, because there is so many different builds you can do with those guys. Mm-hmm. I think the build is the same, the 4 or 5 guys, but that 3v3 is it's going to be deciding the slate for sure. So it's not always great to decide the slate on 2 or 3 guys, but it's a 4-game slate. So that is what it is.
Yeah, and I agree. I'm gonna make a couple lineups with Grimes and Butler, and then a couple with just Grimes, and just see what it looks like.
Yeah, and the other option is if you don't want an Oral Roberts guy, like say you think that 9K is too high to pay for O'Banner, and you don't want to pay for Ace Miss, then you can easily fit Butler, Grimes, another guy in that range if you want to do that. I can't imagine fading an Oral Roberts, full fade of Oral Roberts personally. It's viable though, but there's going to be it's just that total's too high. I don't know. For Butler, I feel like Butler, there's going to be no middle for him today. He's either going to go for 45 or he's going to be under 30 because he picked up 2 quick fouls, just being a bonehead like he does sometimes. So that's what gives me the most concern. I think he is the most volatile of the top 5 plays today. I'll say that.
Definitely is. Yep. And that's why I was saying, because during the season, I would go Devion Mitchell.
Yeah. Or even Teague. I'm not, if this is a regular, weekend slate, I would probably be higher on Teague, but
Teague's
since
a
it is
good
the
spot.
tournament, there is no tomorrow. You tend to want to play the top guys on team for sure.
Yeah. And that's Jared Butler. I
Yeah.
mean, he's the class of NCAA. So no, I hear you. I totally agree with everything you're saying here. So we're on the same page here.
Sweet. Well, I think that's it, everybody. Appreciate it. You still have several hours to, internalize that, tinker, and drive yourself nuts. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow on the YouTube live. If, you're a member, get in that Discord, Premium College, guys will be talking there. If we get starting lineups prior, it's been hit or miss, but now that the games are spread out, we should be fine. Any late breaking news will be posted there as well in that Premium College room. So make sure that you are there throughout the day. Let's have an enjoyable day. And also there's some betting opportunities. NIT semifinals are today as well. They're not on the slate. They're in a bubble, so they had to play during the tournament. But Memphis is playing Colorado State. Louisiana Tech is playing Mississippi State. So a couple of decent games if, in between the tournament, you're looking for some basketball action to quell your thirst for the game. There you go. I think that Memphis game starts in about an hour. So thanks, Pete. Appreciate it as always. See you guys back tomorrow morning. Right. And good luck today.
Thanks, Walt.
Today. See ya.
Good luck, guys.